Hello everybody, Hellcrex here, and welcome to another Mercenary Thoughts from the Inner Sphere. Well, today we're going to be talking about the Zhukov Heavy Tank. Yes, that nasty tank that, when it's set there in a dug-in position, is a pain in the behind. Alright, so a 75-ton tank. It is a 3.5, has internal combustion engine, so no heat sinks. Running around with 176 points of armor, which is 11 tons, which has a respectable 44 in the front, 32 on the sides, 24 in the back, and 44 in the turret. So like I said, if you got this thing in a hull down position where you only hit it on 10 pluses, yeah, or hit the location of the turret on a 10 plus. So the whole lower half is like, yeah, it's really hard to kill those things. Now, weapons. It has 2 AC-10s in the turret. It has 2 tons of ammo in the body, and SRM-6 on the front with a ton of ammo in the body. It has a pretty respectable amount of damage coming in. It rolling around, it's like a little over 900 battle value. Yeah, it's not bad. You can outfit a whole lance of these things for the cost of some mechs. Let's put it that way. With a vehicle that has a the pair of AC-10s, yeah, getting in close to it, it's not your best. It's not in your favor. They're just like, they do tear off a lot of armor. It's like my experience with these things in all the games I've ever played with them, I have some myself, is that you get 4 of these things working in conjunction, pick on one target, and then say half of the, or so, depending on the, especially if you get half hit with those AC-10s, yeah, there's some armor being ripped off. And if you got a target that's a real slow moving, let's say assault mech that's only got a 1 pip on it, and then yeah, it goes up. You might get 6, 7, sometimes even 8 hits, and yeah, it's just like you just watch a mech just go, oh, okay, that hurt. And then most average roll is 6, 7, and 8 for location. A lot of times you're watching the center torso disappear, and they're just like, okay, time to retreat. Go someplace else where they're not shooting at you. Maybe throw something else into the mix. And then you have, when you get it with a 9, and you get a couple of those SRM-6s hit, and then you're crit hunting. That's been my experience with these things. Pretty decent little vehicles. Yeah, they die eventually, but if you're running them in conjunction with other mechs and stuff like that, that have assortment of weapon systems, let's say you got a couple LRM carriers behind the hill or something, and they just start pummeling targets, it doesn't take very long before they're, whatever target you're picking on is like, I've had enough. I don't want to be here anymore. And that's the best way you can say anything about this vehicle. If you don't have any, it might be worth looking into getting a couple or 4, so you have at least a lance of them. And the only way to make this vehicle even better is if you put a fusion engine on it, and then you start adding even more nasty goodness to the mix. So, speaking of which, you have the Word of Blake version. Now, I'm not really enamored with the initial Word of Blake version. What they did was they put on an improved C3 computer. Okay, I'm behind that. That's, it's like 2.5 tons or something like that for one of those. So, but they can operate as an independent C3 system or link up together. That works good. Okay, that's the great part about this vehicle. But it has a pair of variable speed pulse lasers, large ones. Like, okay. that it's like you're suddenly going with a little shorter weapons. But it does back it up with an MML7. So you got a single one of those, and it has case and ammunition to protect it from the ammunition explosion. Okay. But it does have an XL engine, and it comes in just about 50 more points compared to, no, actually not 50 more, it's like 10 more, I'm sorry. 10 or 20 more value. All right. Now, if you were looking at, let's say, not having the large pulse lasers, instead just kept the autocannons, that would be an interesting little build to think about. It's because you have a couple AC-10s and an MML7. It's like, interesting concept. You know, the only problem is with the large pulse lasers is that you got short range and you're burning through a chunk of heat sinks to go with that. Yeah, you save in one direction with what do you call it, tonnage, but you're using it up again and having to have heat sinks. So there is that. Now, they got a different version of this same vehicle. This one has the two AC-10s have been replaced with LBX 10s. All right, I'm fully behind that. Has an SRM4 tube case, and it still retains the C3I system. All right. But this one comes in, what, about 35 more points when it comes to battle value. Now, I've used this one before. I like it. We've seen these things at just like Gen Con Origins before. You go way back in the day when we were when the Word of Blake first started showing up on the battlefield in our campaigns, and this is before they even really, well, it was before the books came out that had the Word of Blake or anything of that nature, and they hit the table, and then we were kind of more or less playtesting the Word of Blake style stuff. And I was like given a whole bunch of vehicles to run, like, because no one wanted the vehicles. And I was like, sure, I'll take the vehicles. I'm an armor officer. I can get behind this. And I just went right down the field with these things and just destroyed things right and left. And people are like, running away. Got to kill those vehicles. It was a good day. And this is pretty much what you have is with a couple LBX cannons and the SRMs. You use the solid shot or the cluster, depending on your target. And if you have somebody in a C3 system that's up close, they were just hammering. So it was one of those games where the mechs were up front, and I was able to link in with the C3 systems, and it was just obliterating stuff. You use solid shot, or like, oh, that mech's got a bunch of open spots on it, and just start cluster hitting with them. And then once you get with a 9, you hit with the SRMs. And it was just crit hunting day, right and left. So it was a good day. And I really like the LBX version. I can get behind the LBX version. And with the C3I. Now, another good one is the House Lyo version, the LBX variant. Basically taking the same thing. You got the LBX cannons. You have the SRM4. Has a standard C3 slave, and then it adds Guardian ECM. And you look at that. But you do have a jump in value. You know, you're going up almost, 100 points by using that version. But it's more of a vehicle for the masses. When you look at it with a couple LBX cannons, SRM4, and then obviously you got a standard C3, and then you have the Guardian. So you do have to have some vehicle or mech in the mix with the master when you're running that version. So it's kind of paying the tax and the tonnage for other equipment. But it is still a pretty decent, hard-hitting tank. And if you want to, use the LBX cannons to good effect, yeah, you can. You can just sit there and just hammer away all day with these little LBX cannons. It's one of those things where before you even go out, you take 1 ton of LBX cannon shot and 1 solid, and depending on the circumstance of what you're facing, you can use solid or do the shotgun them. And my experience is, a lot of times it's sometimes it's better to go with the shotgun because you're just crit hunting. Even if they have full armor, there have been many times where it's like you get those floating crits and you're taking that shot and you're hitting a location, and sometimes you hit ammo or other critical systems, maybe forcing a mech to disengage because you hit, let's say, a gyro and a engine hit or something like that, and force them to force withdrawal. So there's that. That's the nice thing when it comes to the LBX, and I like the options you can use with the solid or the cluster. But that is it. That is pretty much it in a nutshell. It is a really good tank to throw into your mix. It's on par, let's say, with some other vehicles that are maybe a little faster. Like you look at the Rommel or the Patton. Like the Rommel's got the AC-20 and the Patton's got the AC-10 with some other systems, but they're a little faster. But if you're fighting in a city fight and you're staying on the roads, you got those modifiers to speed you up a little bit if necessary. So it's not a detriment overall being a 3.5, especially a vehicle. You can throw a lot more equipment and damage downrange. All right, that's it. Hope you guys like it. Like and subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one. Hellcracks out.